Have you ever thought to yourself, I know that I need to be exercising, but I have no idea how to get it done on a consistent basis with everything that I have going on in my schedule? If so, you are not alone. In fact, so many people feel this way, and this is one of the most common objections that we hear as far as why people don't exercise consistently. Well, in today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, we're going to lay out a simple system that will not only work for you, but we laid it out to the future physicians of Midwestern University so they can start applying it to their own lives and tell their future patients about it. We're going to cue our introduction and we're going to dive right into this conversation. Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we will be breaking down the strategies and tactics you need to know to build your health, strength, and function without feeling achy, sore, or injured.
We're your hosts, Julie and Charlie, the creators of the Exercise for Life membership. Your podcast starts now.
Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Exercise for Life Studios, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset, and the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and today we are doing part 2 of the presentation that we gave at Midwestern University to the future physicians of why they and their future patients need to be exercising. Part 1 covered a lot of the science and why it's so important. Part 2 will go into the practical application of how you actually get this done consistently. And we lay out a simple 3-step framework that anybody, including you, can follow to make sure you're able to get your workouts in on a consistent basis. We're going to jump right into part 2 now.
How do we fit in not only just moving consistently throughout the day, but actually working out on a consistent basis? So we need a system to follow, and that's what we're going to go into right now. A simple 3-step system that you can implement immediately to build the habit of exercising consistently and in a way that will be sustainable for your body for decades to come, okay? So this is the overview of the simple 3-step system. I'm going to go through the general system first. And then after we go through the general system, I'm going to give you the guidelines to follow in order to help to maximize your brain health and function. Sound good? All right. So step 1, start moving consistently throughout your day. Again, this is the all the time exercise piece. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. Okay. The top tip I have to do this, set reminders in your phone. Or schedule your phone alarm to go off at specific intervals, okay? If you wanna get like really ninja about it, go into your reminders and at certain points throughout your day, say like, okay, at 10:30, it's gonna tell you to do squats for 30 seconds and then plank for 30 seconds and then jumping jack for 30 seconds. And that goes off every single day at 10:30. And at 11:30, it gives you another series of things. And then at 12:30, another series of things. Or you can just set your phone timer to go off every 45 to 60 minutes and stand up and walk around, go to the bathroom, grab some water and come back. It's as simple as that, but it needs to be done consistently, not only from a health perspective, but the reason why this is so important is because when you start getting up and moving consistently throughout your day, you're going to start telling your brain this is getting up and moving thing that is important. And when your brain thinks something's important, guess what? It's going to start seeking out and seeing more opportunities for you to do that thing. All right. It's like if we said, hey, you know what? We need to all find the color red right now, as many places as we can. Guess what you're going to see? You're going to start seeing red because you've just told your brain that that's really important. And you're going to miss all the blue, all the green, all the brown, everything like that. So when you start getting up and moving consistently throughout your day, it's that same kind of signal to your brain that, okay, this thing, this getting up and moving around thing, this is important. So I'm going to start prioritizing it. I'm going to figure out how I can do it more frequently. And your brain will make it easier for you by seeing more opportunities to do that. All right. So that really helps a lot of people to break down this idea that, oh, I don't have enough time to exercise, because every single day you are confronting that belief head on because you are proving to yourself that, oh, I am able to get up and move consistently throughout my day. All right. Once you're able to start doing that, then we go into step number 2, which is implementing little workouts. All right. Now, little workouts are 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes less. Resistance training, cardio, they're going to work your entire body. All right. And so when you're able to move for 3, 5, 10 minutes at a time, then all you do that consistently and you realize, oh, I can do this. I can move consistently throughout my day. Then you just expand upon it. Just expand upon the time, expand upon the effort a little bit with these little workouts. But here's the thing, there's 3 musts that need to happen with your little workouts in order for them to get done consistently. Must number 1 is they must be convenient. okay? If you're giving yourself 20 minutes to get a workout in, but expecting that you're gonna walk 15 to 20 minutes to get to the gym and then 15 to 20 minutes back, you have to understand that's not gonna be sustainable or feasible long-term. So many people, the reason why I have this picture up there is because she's working out in her home, all right? So many people find it most convenient to work out in their residence doing these little workouts because they're quick hitter, but they are highly effective, okay? That's must number one, they must be convenient. Must number two is they must be planned. If you're going into your workout time knowing that you have 20, 25 minutes to get a workout in, but have no idea what you're gonna do, you can't do that. You can't spend the first 10 minutes just kind of dinking around trying to figure out what it is you're gonna do. You need to know exactly what it is you're gonna do from the time you start your workouts. Your little workouts must be planned. And must number three is your little workouts must be focused, all right? If you're working out and you start getting, group texts and everything, you can't think, oh, good, during my rest period, I'm just gonna check that quick, I'm just gonna respond to stuff, because you eat up 3, 5, 10 minutes of your time and your workout time is gonna be shot, all right? So your little workouts must be convenient, they must be planned, and they must be focused, all right? The big thing about this, though, for a lot of people, is you have to give yourself permission to do shorter workouts. So often we think, oh, working out needs to be this 45 to 60-minute endeavor. It doesn't, all right? It really doesn't. Give yourself permission to do these shorter workouts, and then we'll get into step number 3, which is on there to increase frequency, all right? So once you start increasing, or once you start doing your all-the-time exercise, you're doing it every single day. Then you expand upon that with your little workouts. But maybe you're not doing that every single day. The next step is to get to the place where you can increase the frequency of your little workouts, where you're doing it a minimum of 5 days a week, okay? A minimum of 3 days of resistance training and a minimum of 2 days of cardio, all right? Now, the big thing with the resistance training is this is not cardio with weights. Meaning this is not, ropes and then kettlebells and then, box jumps and everything like that, okay? This is like focused, really intentional muscle squeezing resistance training for that 20 to 25 minutes, 3 times a week. And then when you want to do your cardio, you can do your cardio as well, a minimum of twice a week, all right? But what does our brain need? This is a 3-step framework, but what does our brain actually need, okay? The minimums for our brain, in order for, we're talking about improving memory, increasing hippocampal volume, boosting creativity, improving decision-making and attention span, okay? A minimum of 5 days a week, preferably every single day, but a minimum, we're talking 5 days a week, okay? Number 2 is 30 to 60 minutes a day. So we talked about the little workouts, all right? Once you get your frequency down where you're able to do that 5 to 7 days a week, and your body still feels well, you don't feel like you're needing 2-3 days to recover from your workouts, you're able to do them consistently, then start to increase the duration, all right? So you go from your 20 to 25 minutes, then you start to increase into that 30, upwards of 60-minute range, okay? Number 3, a moderate intensity, at least a moderate intensity. Meaning if you're wearing a heart rate strap, 70% of your maximum heart rate. If you're doing weights, at least a 7 out of 10 on the RPE scale, okay? So 7 out is, 70% of your 1 rep max, or 7 out of 10 as far as like the level of exertion that you're putting forth, okay? A combination of both resistance training and aerobic exercise. And my number 1 tip for improving, using exercise to improve the brain, exercise earlier in the day. All right. Reason being is because exercise is going to prime your brain to learn and grow, but you still need to challenge your brain in order to take advantage of that priming. In fact, there was a really interesting study that was done at a high school in Naperville where they introduced something called 0-hour PE. All right. And what this was is kids would come before school to do their PE class, and then they would go throughout, the rest of their school day. And they compared the changes in reading ability and reading comprehension with those kids to the kids that would do PE later in the day. And the kids that did it earlier had much greater increase in reading comprehension and reading ability when they exercised earlier in the day versus when they did it later in the day. So I just want to encourage you, if right now you're in the habit of exercising in the evening, I'd rather have you exercising in the evening than not at all. But if you can make it so you're exercising earlier in the day, and earlier does not mean early, but earlier in the day, then you get to take advantage of that priming of your brain when you go to class, when you're studying, everything like that, okay? So here are the stages of progression, and this is one thing the mainstream fitness industry often messes up and why a lot of people end up not well from exercise, okay? The first thing that we need to get down is our frequency of exercise. All right, we need to be able to exercise in a way that we're able to keep coming back to day after day, that 5 to 7 days a week. Once you're able to find that, then you start to increase the duration. That's when you go from your 20 to 25 minutes into your 30, 40, 45, 60 minutes, okay? Once you're able to do that, then you start playing with the intensity. See, a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm only going to exercise twice a week. So the 2 times I'm going to exercise, I'm just going to hit it hard. All right. The truth of the matter is we first want to prioritize frequency, then expand upon that with duration, and then you can start fluctuating intensity. All right, where you have some days are more intense, some days are less intense, but you follow that progression, you're going to be far more likely to be able to be consistent with your workouts because it's become something that you're doing every single day, as opposed to thinking, I normally do it twice this week, I only did it once, it's all right, I'll get back on the horse next week. No, now all of a sudden it becomes something that you're doing consistently when you follow this stage of progression: frequency, then duration, then intensity. So the big question that we have right now then, that you need to be asking yourself every single time you work out is my workout today setting me up to work out again tomorrow? See, a lot of times what we believe about exercise is that it needs to deplete our body, and then we need to spend this time recovering from our workouts. And fingers crossed, we feel well enough in 24 to 48 hours that we can come back and do it again, all right? But if you can switch your mindset about that and instead think, is my workout today setting me up to work out again tomorrow? Am I doing right now setting me up to come back and do this thing tomorrow? Guess what? You're going to greatly increase the likelihood that you can come back and work out again tomorrow just by having that question in mind. If while you're working out, you're asking yourself this question and at any point it starts to trend towards no, even if you're not like, oh, I haven't finished my workout yet, my recommendation would either be slow down your workout or stop your workout. Because you want to be as yes as much of the time as possible while you're exercising with this. And when you're able to use today's workout to set you up to come back and work out again tomorrow, and that workout to set you up to work out again the next day, you can string together those days, you can string together that frequency, then you can increase the duration, and then you can start fluctuating with the intensity. But the main thing is you're able to keep coming back to your workouts and getting the health benefits from your workouts. So, final thoughts for this whole thing. How you exercise matters, all right? Consistently exercising is the single best thing that you can do to build and maintain the health and function of your body throughout your life. But how you exercise matters, all right? Doing random YouTube videos, only going for walks, or trying to join in on HIIT classes when it's not right for your body is not a long-term answer for sustainable health. The workouts must be appropriate for your body. Number 2. It all comes back to muscle contraction. Every single health benefit that you can get from exercising comes back to muscle contraction. Remember, we're defining exercise as challenging our muscles with the intent of improving the health and function of our body. It all comes back to muscle contraction. The number of muscles contracting, the volume of muscles, the intensity that they're contracting, the frequency with which they're contracting, and the length of time, the duration they're contracting for, those are the things that drive the health benefits that we get from exercise. Number 3, your exercise, because of this, must be focused on challenging your muscles, okay? Not on the movement, not on the choreography, not on trying to keep up with the class, all right? Or just on, doing things that feel fun. I'm not opposed to doing things that feel fun, but understand there's a time and place for that, which brings us to point number 4 is you don't play sports to exercise, you exercise to play sports. And what I mean by this is so often, especially when we are in our 20s and our whole life, our form of exercise was sports through middle school and high school and possibly into college. And that's how we learn to exercise. That becomes our default way of exercising. But we all have to retire from sports at some point. Exercise should not be anything that you ever have to retire from. So if you can flip the script in your mind and think about your workouts as the thing that prepares your body to go and do your sport, not only will you have a greater longevity with your workouts, you have a much greater longevity with your sports, okay? And I can say that from practical experience, spending years working with NFL teams, other professional athletes, the amount of time that those men go and train their body to go and play their sport, it's incredible, okay? If you start thinking about it the same way, where you're going to be training and preparing your body to go and play your sport, now all of a sudden your sport becomes more sustainable and your exercise becomes more sustainable as well. And then finally, exercise in a way that sets you up to work out again tomorrow, all right? This is how you consistently get the health benefits from exercise. This is how you are able to exercise in a way that you will be able to maintain, not just for the next year or for the next 5 years, but for decades to come, all right? At some point in our life, we're all going to be faced with the question of, do I want to exercise today? All right? And for most of us, that's going to happen multiple times throughout our lives. At some point in your career, you're going to meet multiple people who have said no to that. And they've said no for a year, a decade, for 4 decades. And if you can convey to them the importance of not only starting to exercise now, but do so in a way that they don't have to say no to that question, and they can say yes, because today's workout is setting me up to come back and work out again tomorrow, that can have a huge impact on their health. That can have a huge impact on their life. That can have a huge impact on how they're able to interact with their family, their friends, their community, and the good that they are able to do in the world, simply by getting them to start moving more, okay? So the good news for all of us and for your patients is that it's never too late to start. In fact, a study from 2019 showed that starting to exercise, even as late as your 60s, can still produce longevity boosting benefits results, even when the people have been sedentary for the majority of their lives. That's a huge thing, because you're going to be working with people at all stages of life. If you say, no, I've never exercised before, it's too late for me, it's not too late. It's truly never too late to start. The other good news is that there's no known upper limit to the amount of benefit you can get from exercising. With those who are in elite physical condition, having over a 10 times reduction in the rate of all-cause mortality versus those who are in a low level of physical condition. And going from a low level of physical condition to a below average level of physical condition, essentially going from immensely out of shape to like kind of out of shape, you cut your rate of all-cause mortality in half. That's huge. You're not trying to train for the Olympics. You're not trying to get anybody else to train for the Olympics. You're just trying to get people to start moving more and being very intentional and mindful about how they're doing it, and doing so in a way that builds their health today, tomorrow, and for decades to come, all right? How you go about doing that is by exercising consistently. Consistency is the key. That is the key to doing it sustainably for your body, and the key to doing it sustainably for your life from a schedule perspective and from a length of life perspective. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have right now or respond to any comments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this slide to a big recap of everything that the major points. If you want to take a picture, you are more than welcome to, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time. Yes.
Can you speak on how you can gauge what an appropriate type of exercise is for someone?
Absolutely.
Because there's so many different types of options out there,
Mm-hmm.
from low impact to high impact, really heavy weight training to yoga, etc. How do you go about gauging if that is the right one for your body? Great question.
All right. So there are different categories that I would think about, okay? Number one, I think the big overarching theme is that it has to be symptom-free. Okay, so if you're doing an exercise and it's causing any type of negative symptom, whether it's joint pain or you're feeling your body tighten up or like excessive like muscle pain or anything like that, that's a telltale sign that it's inappropriate. All right, so that you can tell in the moment. All right, when you're thinking about doing the exercise, you're thinking, okay, do I feel connected with my body right now? Do I feel my joints moving the way that I would expect them to move? Or is there any kind of stickiness? Is there any kind of catching? Is there any kind of pain or zinging? Okay. And then from a muscle perspective, if I'm doing like a curl, can I make a direct mind muscle connection with my biceps? Can I really focus in on the muscles that I'm trying to challenge? All right. So that's in the moment. And then the other part, and this is why it's a little bit of a guess and check. Okay. The other part is, how do you feel immediately in the hours that follow your workouts? Okay. I don't know about you, but I've definitely had workouts where I'd walk home from the gym, I'd lie down on the couch, and I'd wake up 3-4 hours later. And I'm like, what just happened? Right? And so be like, oh, okay, maybe that was too much for my body. All right. So how are you feeling in the hours immediately after, in the hours that follow your workouts? Are you feeling more energized? Are you feeling more connected with your body? Do you feel like, yeah, I'm leaving that workout feeling stronger? Or do you feel like, oh, I just depleted my body? Like I'm going to definitely need to recover from that. Okay. And then How are you feeling in the days that follow, the next 24 to 48 hours? Are you waking up the next morning and feeling like stiff and achy, walking up, getting out of bed? Do you feel like I could go back and work out today, but I probably shouldn't because I need to take some time off? So it's going to be a very subjective in that manner, but our interpretations of our body are mostly subjective. And so we just want to think about, as we're exercising, are there any symptoms? Do I feel like I can connect with my body? After I leave my workout, do I feel more energized, more connected with my body? Do I feel like that's something that I could come back and do again the next day? Or when I wake up the next day, do I feel like, oh, I overdid it, all right? We're all gonna overdo it. The idea is not to have it be perfect. The idea is be aware of that. And so the next time you go and exercise, you're like, I did overdo it last time. I'm going to change how I'm going about exercising to go and change that. All right. And then you change the exercises that you're doing, you change how you're doing them, you scale back your volume, whatever it is. But as much as we love to be perfect with it every single time, really it just comes down to like, okay, let me check how I'm feeling. Oh, I'm good. All right, cool. I can go and do that again. Or, oh, I'm not good. Okay, now I need to change it. Switching the normalization of you should be sore, you should be achy, you should feel beat up from your workouts to one of like, I actually don't want to feel that way. Let's see if I can leave my workout more energized, more connected with my body. Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yes.
So we talked about how exercise is good for focusing and how it's great for the heart, but also heard exercise is great for the mental health.
Yes.
How exactly does exercise affect your mental health? Is it the same neurotransmitters too?
Yeah. Okay, so when I was writing my book, I did put a section in there about exercise and mental health. And all the papers I come across, it was very inconclusive, except for the fact that what it seems like most pharmaceuticals are doing for mental health is like boosting a neurotransmitter or reducing something like this. But what it seemed like from the studies with exercise is there was more of a balancing of them, okay? And so it was less about like boosting serotonin or boosting dopamine or anything like that. It was more like, well, it's providing more of an appropriate balance for it. The other thing that I will say about that is the effects of exercise on the autonomic nervous system, and that, whether you're more sympathetic or parasympathetic, more in your fight or flight or more in your rest or digest state, okay? When you're exercising appropriately for your body, you should be in more of it should afterwards, like the next day after you recover everything like that, you should still be back in your parasympathetic state, okay? If you're finding that your workouts are driving more of a sympathetic state, like the next day, like you're not fully recovered, and you can measure this through heart rate variability or just checking your heart rate in the morning if your HRV is low or if your heart rate's elevated, that would be an indication that your autonomic nervous system is going out of whack. That can start to have an influence on mental health as well, because that's just that your body is getting more stress signals then, and then we may become less tolerant of other little stressors throughout our life. So I don't have an exact like muscle contraction to this, even though I have to suspect that there's something there. I just haven't seen the papers to spell that out. What I have seen is that there's a balancing of the neurotransmitters in the brain with exercise, which is different than with pharmaceutical applications where it seems to boost one or depress another or something like that. Cool. Anything else? Yes.
For us as future physicians,
yes,
we're probably going to have to talk to our patients and encourage them to do these types of workouts.
Yep.
I have found that when I've tried to talk to some people and encourage them to work out, their first immediate answer is, I don't know where to start.
Sure.
So do you have any programs that you found, whether it's YouTube channels or something online, that implements what you were talking about in a set regimen that we can give to a patient,
yes,
or to a family or a friend?
Absolutely. And so this would be a shameless plug for what my wife and I have created, which is an online exercise membership that literally applies this exact same thing into something that somebody can access from their phone, their tablet, their computer, their smart TV. So yes, it's not common. That's why most people are like, I have no idea. And when I try to find something, I don't like those options. So that is why we created that. As far as other resources, if you follow that framework of start moving more throughout your day, it doesn't have to be complicated. Just get people to set their phone timers or put the reminders in their phone, get up and move throughout your day. Have them consider that their starting point. When they can start to see that as exercise, now all of a sudden their mindset about themselves shifts. Because now they can't say, well, I don't exercise, because they're proving themselves every single day that they do exercise. So that starts to become part of their daily habit. That starts to become part of their identity. And now they can just say, okay, well, now it's just an easy step in this direction of expanding upon getting up and moving throughout the day. And if they feel a little bit confused or anything like that, again, that is why my wife and I created what we created online. Having them go to a gym and either join in on a class or hire a trainer, those can be really solid options for most people. Even if the guidance or the instruction isn't the best, having somebody else that they have to show up for is really big for a lot of people. And then they can at least get the ball rolling, and then they can nail down the nuances from there. But that's where I'd start. Hey, just start moving more throughout your day, and then start to do these, like we talked about, these little workouts, which is exactly what my wife Julie and I have created. Yeah, you bet. Anything else? Yes.
You mentioned the autonomic system.
Yes.
Out of whack, and it being more like a sympathetic nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend something like yoga to increase someone's parasympathetic system?
Great question. So in my opinion, it depends on how the yoga is done. Okay. Meaning I used to do yoga classes where people were borderline competitive with the yoga. And that becomes a very stressful situation. If the yoga to them becomes about connecting with their body, feeling their body move, feeling their muscles move into different lengths and stuff, awesome, go for it, okay? What I typically recommend when people, and this is what I've used for myself for over a decade now, when my autonomic nervous system starts to get out of whack, I go to steady state cardio, and I look at 20 minutes, keeping my heart rate around the 120, maybe upwards of 130 mark. Okay, and I do that for the 20 minutes, and that is my workout for the day. Whether it's on a cycle bike, whether it's going for a walk, jog, whether it's doing an elliptical, something where I can monitor my heart rate, keeping my heart rate in that 120 to 130 range. Obviously, it would be age adjusted, so maybe you're thinking like 60 to 65%, and keeping that kind of steady state for that 20 minutes, maybe upwards of 30 minutes. If I get into it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling better. Every single time I do that, and I do what's called a recovery workout, oh, my body is doing so much better the next day. Another option they can do is they can go to the gym and they can do their typical strength training workout. Cut the volume to either anywhere between half to 2/3, and do the weight either half to 2/3 of what they're currently doing. It's going to feel really easy. It's going to feel really light. That's the point. But it gives them an opportunity to really connect with their muscles, doing the exercise that they normally do without it being a huge load on their system. I'll do that for a week straight. I'll do 3 weeks intense, and then I'll do that for a week straight. I call it deload week. And then I come back the next week and I'm ready to rock and roll. So those would be the things I would think about with people. Yes.
What are your opinions on pre-workout supplements?
So I personally really like pre-workout because I like how it makes me feel. I really like caffeine because I like the way it makes me feel. There's a lot of people who will be like, there's a lot of junk in those, and there certainly can be a lot of junk in those. So it's a trade-off. I'm not saying that it is for everybody. And then as far as supplements, it's funny. Not necessarily workout supplements, but say like vitamin supplements. So last week, I interviewed Dave Ashby for our podcast, and I was talking with him about supplements. And he goes, so many people want to say, oh, I'm just going to get my vitamins and minerals naturally from food. And he said, that's a fine argument if you're only going to get your stress naturally, or if you are only going to have all your toxins naturally, meaning you're not going to be bathing in EMFs or 5G, all the day. If you're going to go live in a cave, have, only contact with 150 people throughout your entire life, then maybe your body is in a place where you can get all your supplements naturally, because our soils are so depleted that even when we're thinking we're eating the really healthy foods, we're not getting nearly the amount of nutrients that we would expect to get from, a grape or a strawberry or broccoli or anything like that. So he goes, at a minimum, like, here are the supplements that people would need to be taking. That's different than performance supplements. Again, I do use like a protein shake after I work out. And I think for a lot of people, that's a really good option because I think a lot of people do not get enough protein in throughout their day. And so that can be a really nice option at that time as well. Yeah. Right.
So you were saying just like as a measurement of like, not only how we feel the next day to kind of gauge our workout before, but like you're saying measuring like heart rate variability, measuring heart rate.
Yeah.
Other markers of like how we can just like see where our, like, other than just like our own personal awareness and just feeling how we are, like, is there an easy way to measure heart rate variability?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So there are apps on your phone or that you can get on your phone. One's called Elite HRV. I hook it to a Bluetooth heart rate monitor, a Polar H10, and then you just sit there for like 3 to 5 minutes and it will read out your heart rate variability. You need to do it a number of days in a row because there's no standard for heart rate variability. It's all based on you. So we'll say, based on you, you are more stressed than you normally are. You're less stressed than you normally are.
And that's basically a way of saying like how well you're recovering.
Yep.
What state your body is, whether it's more fit or sympathetic.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So that will do that. And if you do, and so the other thing that I did for probably my senior year of college and 2 or 3 years after that, before I started doing HRV stuff, is I just measure my resting heart rate every morning. I'd wake up and just measure my resting heart rate. I knew what it was when I was recovered. If I was in the high 40s, I knew I was good. Low 50s, I was okay. If I started creeping up in the high 50s, I knew my body needed to, would need to do a recovery day. And so you can just measure your resting heart rate every morning as a way of checking in on that as well. Cool. Hey, thanks so much for being here, everybody. I really appreciate it.
So many of you guys have been asking how to actually do this stuff with us. And we want you to do it with us. And we actually created an entire membership so that you could do it easily from our website. We actually have 2 options for you to get engaged with us. You can choose a monthly option, or you can choose an annual option. The annual is obviously a little bit more money up front, but you get a whole bunch of more benefits. So choose which one works for you. And as soon as you sign up to be a member of the Exercise for Life membership, you gain instant access to our giant database of programs. We do everything with programs so that we can walk you through. It's not just like one-off workouts, through education, free stuff. So we definitely want you to engage with us and get on our membership if you're wanting to get going with your Exercise for Life journey. All you need to do is go to www.exerciseforlifestudios.com/membership.
So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that feels like there's no way that they can get the minimum amount of exercise that they need to in order to be healthy with everything else that they have going on in their schedule? Share this episode with them so they can learn about this simple 3-step framework that they can start implementing today to help them get on the right track to exercising consistently. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find our podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and when they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us a 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.